Isaiah 58:6, 1-8 reads this way: shout out, do not hold back, lift up your voice like a trumpet, announce to my people their rebellion, to the house of Jacob their sins. Yet day after day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why do we fast, but you do not see? Why humble ourselves, but you do not notice? Look, you serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all your workers. Look, you fast only to quarrel and to fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Is this general conference? Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose? A day to humble oneself? Is it to bow down the head like a bulrush and to lie in sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free and to break every yoke? It is not to share your bread with the hungry and bring the homeless poor into your house when you see the naked, to cover them and not to hide yourself from your own kin? Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and God will say, here I am. This is the word of God for the people of God. Our subject this morning, deployed worship. This afternoon. Deployed worship. Let me start this way. I used to be 8 once. When I was 8, I had a pastor by the name of Harry A. Coleman. I served as an acolyte under him. And for 2 years, he was there. For 2 years, I was an acolyte under his pastoral leadership. And while I was acolyting, serving as an acolyte for him, there came a summer day, a sunny summer day, a sunny summer Bluefield day when the breeze was coming coolly across those high, luscious hills, and there was sunlight pouring down, but in nature's air-conditioned city, it doesn't pour down, but so very, very much. You can't get too hot in Bluefield, just hot enough. And I had a friend, a close friend that lived around the corner from me, and he had an idea that he brought to me that I thought was ingenious, rather than just sitting around and waiting for breakfast and lunch. He had spied an arbor, a grape harbor, and he found this great harbor for he and I alone to go and share in the luscious, magnificent, juicy, joyous delight of these grapes. And day after day, we began our morning, not just running out to play, not just getting eggs, bacon, or Lucky Charms from our mother and grandmother. We went up to this grape arbor. Now, this grape arbor was not in my yard, and it was not in Billy's yard. This grape arbor was in somebody else's yard, but we weren't talking about yards because we had discovered these big, fat, luscious, almost purple maroon grapes that when you bit them, they would burst in all this magnificent, wonderful, marvelous flavor. It was astonishing. New every morning were the mercies of these grapes. And we would get to these grapes and we would eat so many, we would just lay down and throw grapes in the air, open our mouths. bite the grapes. They were just so fantastic and magnificent. And we're eating them, and we're enjoying them, and we're delighting in them. And I heard a voice. Vance, I'm going to tell Joanne and True Love on you. You up here stealing my grapes. You know better than that. Oh, it was the sound of the trumpet. Because, do I have any friends in the room? It was the sound of the trumpet, because I knew that when Mama True and Mama, that's Joanne and True Love, heard that Miss Trigg was calling because I was eating grapes I had not asked for, I knew I had worshiped wrongly. I had not done what I knew to do. I was so delighting in the grapes, I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I had been taught better. In the Trito Isaiah, they've been taught better. They've come, scholars tell us, out of 2nd Isaiah, out of having been in exile. The scholars say they are now at Jerusalem, and they're even delivered. They've gone into creeds and no deeds. They got a lot of talk, no walk. They understand the liturgy in the room, but the work of the people has not processed outside of it. Deborah Crowd, and an amazing work that's come out the past couple of years. Leah Gunning Francis has written a book that documents what happened in the movement, the uprising, the protest in Ferguson, Missouri. You've heard of Ferguson, a little town outside of St. Louis, where a young man, aged 18, Michael Brown, was shot and left to lay in the baking sun there right outside St. Louis in Ferguson for 4 hours after he'd been shot, killed, murdered, executed by a police officer. Leah Gunning Francis has written a marvelous text called Ferguson in Faith. In this text, she documents what she hears from leaders in this movement and then theologizes after she gives us a report of some of what they said. And in this book, she has a particular time she quotes Deborah Krause, who is the academic dean at the Eden Seminary there in the St. Louis area. She quotes Krause as saying, I became involved in intercultural dialogues and work on anti-racism like never before. These are things I had always said I cared about, but now I'm working in them. And she closes the quote by saying this: it's as if I'm being rehumanized. That's what Trito Isaiah is inviting Israel into. That's the worship. Oh, they told me I could move around. That is the worship that God in Trito Isaiah invites the people of God to be about. That's the worship that people who claim to follow Jesus are to be about. Rehumanized worship. Is this the fast that I choose? Sackcloth and ashes? No, is it not to feed the hungry? To loose the bonds of injustice? To destroy the thong of the yoke? Is it not to bring the hungry, poor into your house? That's deployed worship. Bishop, I'm not real sure why y'all did the deploy thing and this. I would not necessarily have used that word with this, but it seems to fit so marvelously. If we're going to be disciples of Jesus, don't tell me what, God bless you, but please don't tell me what the style of your anthem is. If we're really going to be about the business of following Jesus, I didn't say anything about a Christian. That's not the mission of the United Methodist Church, to make Christians. Or you look in your book. Jesus didn't ask anybody to make Christians. Yeah. There's a call in us and on us through this text to the people of God to be who God calls them to be. Now note, in this text, these people are called the house of Jacob. They're not called Israel here. They're not called the God strivers. They're not called Israel. They're called Jacob, the heel holders, the heel pullers, the ones that know how to keep the other crabs from getting out of the basket, the ones that know how to make sure you don't get to do what God has called you to do, because we don't want anybody to be elected before we do. We don't want anybody to get to go to Forest Burdette. We don't want anybody to get in a position where they can be in Yvette Richards' spot if we're not going to be there. Deploy. Do I still have friends in the room? Okay. Gotta check it, be sure. It's about being rehumanized. It's about knowing and learning afresh, again, anew, how to open ourselves to God, because we open ourselves to other people. We are not so stingy that we don't want to hear about generosity. We are not so stuck on insular that we forget what it is to be external. This deployed worship is about being rehumanized. Truth is, we've been dehumanized. If I told and if you told the truth, we've been dehumanized. Let me talk about that in a different way. When I was first appointed to a congregation, to a charge, we don't appoint people, bishops, to churches. We appoint people to charges. Oh, you missed me there. You missed me again. We don't appoint people to a group of folks so they can tell you what to do. No, that's not what we appoint folk to. No, we don't. We appoint people to charges, to a charge conference, a charge to keep. I have a God to glorify. Whoa, I wish to God we could help some congregations understand the pastor ain't there to please you. I'm glad somebody clapped for me. I wish somebody understood the superintendent, pastors, and congregations ain't there to please you. Oh, nobody's with me now. I'm sorry. Do I have one friend in the room? Thank you so much. The bishop's not assigned to please you. It's charges. We got a charge to keep. That's our ecclesiology. We send folk to send other folk. It's not our work to be pleasing people for a party of whoever's in the building. Well, I was appointed my first charge, and on a particular Saturday in August, for some reason, don't remember now what, I went out to the Middletown Mall. This is Fairmont, West Virginia area. Now I go out to the Middletown Mall, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I go get whatever it is, and I come out and I note that there are cars backed up going north all the way down to the exit. So what is this about? What kind of wreck must they have had I'm praying a little bit, and I'm talking to folk. I said, we can't get out there to see who the wreck is. They said, no wreck. There's no wreck. People are going to the West Virginia University football game. And this thing is backed up all the way down here because they're trying to get to the football game. And I remember, Joe Keniston, that I had just seen that the starting quarterback for West Virginia University was going to be 20-year-old John Talley, the little brother of All-America Buffalo Bills linebacker Darryl Talley. And I was so proud. Look at all these people backed up to go to the temple of worship called Mountaineer Field to see John Talley do his thing. They played Louisville. As I recall, Howard Snellenberger, I think, was at Louisville, and they whipped up on Louisville something fierce. I was so proud because I'm in West Virginia. I'm a native West Virginian. Excuse me, Bishop, I got to stop for a second. It's come to my attention that in the book, there's some stuff about me in the book, and it doesn't have my West Virginia stuff. I plead guilty. I apologize. They told me to send a short bio. I sent a short one, and I cut the wrong stuff out. Oh, you need to know. Everywhere I go, I'm from Bluefield, West Virginia. That's where I'm from. I am proud of being from West. So I want everybody here to know my mistake. If you want, I can send you the other one. It's a little longer, but I can send it to you because I am proud of being from Bluefield. I was so proud that West Virginia University had a starting black quarterback in the mid-'80s. There still weren't a whole lot of them back then. I was so proud that Don Leland, who was United Methodist, had this fella who was United Methodist, and they won that game, and they won it big, but 2-3 weeks later, they lost the game. Then they lost another. In the Times, West Virginia, Charleston Gazette and Daily Mail, Bluefield Daily Telegraph, radio shows, TV shows, all blasted this 20-year-old kid. Oh, they talked about him like he was a dog. They worked on him like he was a snake. 20 years old. And the worshipers at Mountaineer Field talked about him as if he were not human at all. We didn't act like he was 20. We didn't act like he was a student. We acted like he was a paid professional. We acted like he ought to be criticized like he was a grown man. 20. And the worshipers at Mountaineer Field, many of whom, like me, will go to worship on Sunday the next day. Never, I heard ever, I never heard once a call in on his behalf, including myself. We all worshiping at the football field missed our worship place, space, and opportunity to stand up for somebody who was being humiliated day after day after day. And then 3 years later, when he became a wide receiver, some of us dared to say, now he's in his proper position. No! We broke him. Is that the fast God chose? Is that the worship God was looking for? Do we humiliate those already humiliated? Do we blame the poor for poverty? Do we blame the lonely for their loneliness? Do we blame the broke for being broken? Is that the fast God chooses? No, no, no. So Isaiah calls you and me house of Jacob folk. We're the people who have not met God yet at the river. We're the people who forgot our names have been changed. But I tell you now, right now, God is looking for some folk who can hear this word from Cheeto Isaiah, believe it's one that leads us to Jesus and calls us to be something different, to live something differently, walk something differently, talk something differently. God is looking for people who would dare a deployed worship, not a sit down, drag out, dead, dull, dry, boring, 59.5 minutes of worship. And act like that's following God in Jesus. I still have friends? Okay, good. All my people, I believe we've been better. I believe we can be better. I believe God calls disciples in Jesus who have been rehumanized, who've gotten past being dehumanized, and have become what God would call us to be. No longer heel holders, but God strivers. In Jesus' name. God's looking for that. Will your daddy be it? God's hoping for that kind of church, that kind of people. I'm reminded if I had been thinking like I need to now, I would have had a PowerPoint so you could see my Alyssa. Alyssa's 31. She's not a baby now. Alyssa's grown. Hey, Loretta, hey, Robbie. She's grown. That's my baby. She's been able to take money from me for a long time. When I didn't have no money, she could get it. She can get it now. Alyssa went to high school in Maryland. That's where I got this store. One of the people at First Church, we call ourselves the home of the Hope Team, working on Love Takeover. And one of our members, Ruth Baldadas Wong from Mexico, made this for me and for several of us. And one day, Alyssa had come home from school. Talking about deployed worship. I still got friends in the room? Okay. Alyssa had come home from worship. From school, and she had a great day. And she's telling her mother and me about this great day she's had, everything that's going on, Bishop. She's just having a marvelous time talking. We're sitting there at the kitchen table. I'm listening. I'm just so happy that my baby's had this wonderful, this marvelous day. And she says to me, and to me and her mother, in the midst of all that, such and such happened today, and we were in choir rehearsal, and Miss, I forget the teacher's name. She said such and such, and so-and-so said, da, 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 and I just laughed, because he's gay, and then went on to this other stuff. He's gay. She's talking, and I'm over here. He's gay. I ain't heard nothing else she said. She's talking to her mother, and they're laughing. She's laughing. I want to laugh, but I can't because I'm stuck on he's gay. So I said, Alyssa, you said somebody in high school is gay? She said, yeah. I tried to tell the story again, but I'm still over here, I'm still over. So I said, Alyssa, he's gay. Yeah, Daddy, doesn't that bother you? She stopped, she looked at me, she said, Daddy, he's gay. Why would that bother me? That's stupid. Now look, Alyssa loves her daddy. Alyssa's never, ever been disrespectful to her father. But have you ever had somebody say something to you and a second sounds like they've lectured you for 50 minutes? You have somebody make this one little comment and it sounds like they've talked to you a long, long time. I still have friends in the room. Alyssa looked at me. She said, that's stupid. I heard her say, you didn't ask. about his future. You didn't ask me about his grades. You didn't ask me, was he a good singer? Daddy, you didn't ask me about his character. I had a good day. You stuck on gay? Daddy, you didn't ask me, what did he want to be? You didn't ask me, Daddy, was he a good friend? You didn't ask me, Daddy, if he had a plan for us to do anything this week or this weekend. I had a good day, and you're stuck on gay. Dad, how ignorant. If you say you're preaching a love takeover, Dad, how stupid. If you claim you're part of a hope team, Daddy, he's 16 years old. Are you kidding? Are you daring to put somebody in a box over something you think you know? She couldn't say all that. She didn't have time to say all that. So she just said, Daddy, why would that bother me? He's gay. That's stupid. And I recall it now because I was dehumanized. And my baby, God used my baby to rehumanize me. I don't have to like who you are or what you do in order to find you human. That's not liberal. That's not conservative. That's human. When somebody stands up and protests in the Black Lives Matter movement, they're not saying that all lives don't matter. They're saying that the indiscriminate over and over murder of black people means somebody's got to say black lives do matter. That's not liberal. That's not conservative. That's human. When we say poor people are not to be blamed for their poverty, when we say everybody in jail is not there justly, when we say when you go to jail you ought not be treated like a dog, that's not liberal. That's not conservative. That's human. God is looking for a church that will deploy some people who will be human. God is looking for a church that will deploy people who want others to be human. Do I have a friend in the room? It doesn't make any difference where you've been, what you're doing, or what you've done. Somebody sang it, JF, better than I can. Red, yellow, black, and white, all are precious in his sight. Deployed worship means that we're rehumanized. We got a church that's don't you know the world is dying for churches and disciples of Jesus who will be rehumanized? Don't you know the world is pleading, begging, hoping, praying that however you think you see them, that you and I will see them as human, that we will break the chains of injustice, break open every yoke, let the oppressed go free. Oh, I believe we can do it. I swear I believe we can do it. Jack, I know we can do it. We just have to have the courage, the temerity, the faith to dare to say it was grace that brought us safe thus far. Grace will lead us home and will lead others home. The world wants to see that. The world wants to see that. I am by nature an introvert. I have no idea why that is funny to so many people. Shy guy, always have been, and especially when you grow up in the 1960s. mother had the nerve not to abort you, but to have you when she wasn't married. A mother with the audacity to bring you into the world darker skinned in a part of the world where being darker skinned was a sin amongst black people. It helped you to be shy. Every day that I look in the mirror, I see a beautiful person, but everybody didn't act like that in the 60s. Thank God I had a mama and grandmama who, through my shyness, kept telling me to a point where you can't tell me nothing else. If you tell me I'm anything other than beautiful, I'm gonna tell you, you the fool. You the one who needs glasses, because ain't nothing but fine, super fine right here. Yeah. Growing up in a world where the lighter the skin, the more beautiful you were. No matter if you look like a pig, a hog, a gnat. It's crying, it's shy. But I like to go to the parties anyway. Just be there with the people. I didn't dance with anybody because I was taller than everybody, darker than everybody's. Everybody's looking at you. You know, when you're 13, 14, everybody thinks everybody's looking at you. And one Friday night, is Fred Villinger here? If he's not, you tell Fred, I say, hey, Fred followed Harry Coleman as Pastor John Stewart Church. Yeah, when we became united, John Stewart desegregated immediately. I can't hear anybody. Yeah, John Stewart desegregated immediately. And I'm out with these guys. And they said, man, nothing to do tomorrow night. It wasn't Friday, it's Thursday. And one of the fellas knew there was. He said, oh, yeah, there is. He said, there's a party at the center. I didn't say anything, Ken, because I didn't want anybody to know, really. But it's apparently already out. So I said, center, what's the center? He said, John Stewart Center. They got a center over there, and they open it up, and they have dances over there. So that when there's nothing else for us to do, we can go to John Stewart Center. I'm quiet because I don't want any of these people there. I just like to go by myself, you know. This fellow said, man, are you out of your mind? I'm not going to no party at no church. I want to dance and get next to somebody. I can't get next to nobody in a church. Have mercy, Father. The fellow said, he looked at him and said, okay, well, you ain't got to go, but I'm going. I didn't say anything. I didn't tell anybody I was going. Went over there. Both of these fellas were there before I was. They were members of Baptist churches. I'm at John Stewart Church, where some of our people didn't want to open it up, Dick. But Fred Villinger convinced them that we ought to open the doors. Fred Villinger and his wife helped them understand we need to fling open the doors and go bring somebody in, so the kids that couldn't afford a YMCA membership had a place to go. The children that did not have a way into the country club had a place to go. John Stewart opened its doors, opened its people, opened its mouth, such that worship was not just Sunday. It happened on Friday night for some young people. We're looking for deployed worship where people know I've got a place to go. People know I've got a place where I'm somebody. People know I'm in a place and in a space, no matter where, no matter who, no matter how. God says, in this place, among these people, I am somebody. Do you believe we can do it? Do you believe we can do it? To the glory of God, let's be deployed in worship. Some lives will be changed. Some souls will be saved. And when we call for help, we'll hear his voice say, here I am. And I'm pleased. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.